All right, our next topic in our last chapter on angles, we have parallel lines and transversals. So I would definitely go get something to write with, get some paper, um, so that you're able to um, take the notes. Or if you don't have that, you could always take a picture of the things of the slide once the slide's finished. And I tell you, okay, you need that. You could just snap a picture of it. That would be easy, so that you can use it on your work coming up if you're OLA, so you can use it on your work for now on. Or if you're NTI, when we're back in school next week, you'll be able to use those notes in class. So if you take a picture, you'll have to write them down later to use them in class. Um, so just be aware of that. So if we get started, we have this diagram, and then you should know, what would you call two lines which do not intersect? So line AB and line CD, you all should know those are, if two lines never touch, then they are parallel lines. And then if you see two lines with these solid arrows on them, that's one of the symbols they use for parallel, to show these two lines are parallel, they never touch. And then the symbol they use, we've been going over in the other videos, and in person class, the different symbols we use for congruent and for angles and all that stuff to name things, and for how do you label something, a ray or a line segment or a line. This is the symbol for parallel. So if you want to say in an answer that two lines are parallel, you use these two vertical lines for that symbol. So line AB is parallel to line CD. Two lines that intersect. So you've got the two lines intersecting are parallel lines. And then if you have another line, a third line that goes across both of them, that is called a transversal. And if we go back, if you wanted to take a picture of this slide, you could do that. Or if you needed to pause the video to draw the diagram, write those things down, you could do that. All right. And then same thing with this. We have this diagram, so you could have wrote that down. You should already had the diagram from the last page. You could label that line going across transversal. And then the space inside of two parallel lines is the interior, and the space outside is the exterior. So that's vocab that's important to remember. We're going to use that when it comes to naming our angles. So remember, the line inside is the interior, the line on the outside is the exterior. So you can label your diagram with those. All right. Now on to the different types of angles. So far we've talked about adjacent angles, complementary angles, supplementary angles, and vertical angles. All right. So if we looked at this diagram, just to review those, adjacent angles, angles that are next to each other. 1 and 2 are adjacent. 3 and 4 are adjacent. 6 and 8 are adjacent. Vertical angles, angles across from each other when two lines cross. So 1 and 4 are vertical, which means they'll be equal to each other. 3 and 2 are vertical angles. 5 and 8, 6 and 7. Looking at this diagram, we can't label any angles complementary, because two complementary angles add up to a 90-degree right angle, and we don't have any of those. But supplementary angles are two lines that make a straight line. So for example, 1 and 2 are supplementary because they both share this straight line. So these two angles would add up to 180. So 1 and 2 are supplementary. 5 and 7 are supplementary. 3 and 4 are supplementary. So any angles next to each other that make a straight line are supplementary, so they would add up to 180. All right, so now let's talk about some different angles in the interior. So interior angles, these are going to be the angles in blue. They're going to be involved. So we have angle 3 and 6 are called alternate interior angles because they are on alternate sides of the transversal, and they are both interior angles inside of the parallel lines. So 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. So what's the other pair of alternate interior angles? So 3 and 6 match together, and 4 and 5 match together. All right. And then we look down and we see, okay, so if I was naming the matching angles, 3 goes with 6, 4 goes with 5. Those are alternate interior angles. And then you've got same side interior angles. So 3 and 5, they're on the same side of the transversal and they're on the interior. So they're same side interior. So that the good thing about this is the name of the angle pairs tells you exactly where they are. So you don't have to memorize that. So 3 and 5 are same side angles, which means that 4 and 6 are also same side interior angles. So there's our first 4. Now we have the same thing with exterior angles. So which ones would be our alternate exterior angles? So we would say 1 and 8 are alternate exterior because they're on alternate sides of the transversal, and they're on the exterior, which means they're on the outside of the parallel lines. So 1 and 8 goes together, and 2 and 7 can match together. Now on the next slide, we're going to figure out what that means and how we use that. Right now, this is just how we're going to be able to label them. And then that also leaves us with 1 and 7, same side exterior, and 2 and 8, same side exterior. All right, so you can write those, draw that diagram, write those down, or if you just want to take a picture of that so you can have that if you need to look back on it when you're doing your problems, you can do that. All right. Now, how are we going to use this? Where you're going to have some questions where you've got to label the, where I might say, look at the numbers, name a pair of same side exterior angles. And you'd have to say, angle 2 and angle 8. Or what's coming up on the next slide, maybe it'll say angle 8 is 50 degrees, and then you've got to fill in the missing angles. So you would use this to fill it in. And to do that, you would use these special angle relationships where it's important to write down these two right here. All you don't need to write that down. All you need to write down is these two, or take a picture of them. Alternate angles are congruent, so they're always equal to each other. So whether it's alternate interior or alternate exterior, if the two angles are a match, they are congruent, so they are equal. So we know whatever, since 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles, whatever 3 equals, 6 equals. So if 3 is 35 degrees, then 6 has to be 35 degrees. If 1 is 102 degrees, then 8 is 102 degrees. Same side angles are supplementary, so they'll add up to 180. So 4 and 6 add up to 180. So if 4 is 100, then 6 has to be 80. They have to add up to 180. All right. 1 and 7 have to add up to 180. So alternate angles are always equal. Same side angles are supplementary. All right, so make sure you have those down. And then also it's important to know if lines are not parallel, then these angle relationships do not exist. So if these aren't parallel, then there's no alternate angles or same side angles or any of that. You can't help you figure out any of it. They have to be parallel for this to work. All right, and our last one is corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are two angles that are on the same side, but one is interior and the other is exterior. So if you look at the matching colors, 1 and 5, they're on the same side, but one's on the interior, one's on the exterior. 3 and 7, same side, one's on the inside, one's on the outside. 2 and 6, and 4 and 8. All right, corresponding angles is what they're called. So if I said label a pair of corresponding angles, you just look from they're on the same side, but one's on the inside, one's on the outside. And then you couldn't do like 1 and 3. They're on the same side. One's inside, one's outside. But we already know what that's called. supplementary. So that's already taken. 1 and 5 are corresponding, and it's mainly called corresponding because 1 is, if you just look at the parallel line and the transversal, 1 is in the top left position. So 3 is in the bottom left, 4 is in the bottom right, 2 is in the top right. So if 1's in the top left, what's in the top left of the bottom one? 5. So that's what they're saying. They're saying that 1 and 5 correspond because they're in the same position when it comes to this part of the figure. All right, so 2 different ways to think about it. So that's corresponding, and corresponding angles are always, what's this symbol? We've talked about it. Corresponding angles are always congruent, so they're always equal to each other. So 1 and 5 would be the same amount, 2 and 6 would be the same amount, 4 and 8, and so on. All right, so you could take a picture of this, or you could pause the video and write it down, and then we'll get into some example problems together. So when I had to open this document at home, it wouldn't open in PowerPoint, so I had to open it on a Google slide, and it messed up this slide. So this diagram's not gonna work for these test problems. So we'll skip over this. All right, so here's a practice. We have 2 parallel lines. We have a transversal. Angle 1 is 120. So we need to fill in all of the missing angles. So what would angle 2 be? What would angle 6 be? Angle 7. All right, and then you would need to be able to fill it in and tell how you knew. So like, which angle pair did you use? What was your reasoning? So I'll just hit the button to go through it. If you want to pause it and try it on your own now, you can pause it, try to fill it out, try and look at it and see what you think each one would be using, we can use vertical, supplementary. You can use corresponding. You can use all the same side angles, alternate angles, and go through that and try and figure out the missing sides. But if I go through that together with you right now, you would get angle 2 being 60. So from what they give us, how would we know angle 2 is 60? You would say angle 2 is 60 because 1 and 2 are supplementary. So they have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 120 is 60. And then let's say it tells us what angle 3 is. Well, if angle 2 is 60, then angle 3 is 60. Yeah, Brody, I hear him back there crying. He'll either go back to sleep or you can go back there and lay down with him. But I'll go get him here in a minute. Video's almost over. And then we've got angle 4, 120. So you could have did this different ways. You could have said 2 and 4 are supplementary, so they add up to 180. Or you could have said 1 and 4 are vertical, so they have to be the same. Or 3 and 4 are supplementary, so they have to add up to 180. So there's lots of, even though you'll get the same degrees for each question, you'll get the same number for the angles, your reason could be different than your classmates' reasons. All right, if we look at number 5, 120, well, how would we get 120 for that? You could say 1 and 5 are corresponding, so they have to be equal. Or you could say 4 and 5 are alternate interior, so they have to be equal. Or you could say 3 and 5 are same side interior, so they have to add up to 180. So there's lots of different ways that you can get that. 6 has to be 60, and you could do it for the same exact reasons. 5 and 6 are supplementary. 6 and 120 are same side interior. 3 and 6 are alternate interior. Or you could say 2 and 6 because they're corresponding. So lots of different ways to get those. 7 is 60 vertical angles, corresponding angles, 3 and 7. 5 and 7 are supplementary, so they add up to 180. And then that leaves 8 would be 120 for the same reasons. Vertical angles, supplementary angles with 7 and 8, supplementary with 6 and 8. You could say alternate exterior, 1 and 8 have to be the same because they're alternate exterior. You could say 2 and 8 have to add up to 180 because they're same side exterior. 4 and 8 have to be the same because they're corresponding. So there's lots and lots of different ways to go about that. So let's look at this practice problem. If you drew that, so we have two parallel lines, but we have two different transversals. And they tell you this angle is 40, this angle is 120. Can you find all of these missing angles? Can you find all of those missing angles? And let's see, here's what we're going to do. Make this easy on you. Group A is watching the video today. OLA is watching the video today. Group B will watch this video tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but on Friday. So then what we'll do is for Group A and for OLA, since you're watching this video today, Wednesday, your Thursday assignment is going to be to draw this figure on paper, and your job is going to be to fill in all of the missing angles and next to it write how you knew. So alternate interior, you can use abbreviations, AI, corresponding, same side interior, same side exterior. Use that to figure out the missing angle. And then I'm going to put a post on Google Classroom under classwork, and you can submit it on there. So that's going to be your assignment for Thursday for both your classes. And I'll go ahead and post that today. So if you want to go ahead and work on it today, you can. But all you've got to do is find, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 missing angles. So either draw this on paper, fill in the missing angle, type in, don't just put the numbers, but also type, if this is 70 and it's because vertical angles, so 70 VA. So that when I look at it, I'll be able to tell whether you, 1, got the right angles, and 2, were able to use the correct way to figure it out. And then you can post that. So you can either do it on paper, take a picture of it, submit it, or if you want to open a Google Doc or whatever kind of document you want, draw the picture and then just type on it and add them in there. You can do that, and then you could submit it that way, whichever way is easier for you. And then that will be your assignment. So draw this picture and fill it in. If you have questions, come to the Google Meets, and we will talk about them together and maybe fill it out together and see what you know. So remember, you've got vertical angles, supplementary angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior, same side interior, same side exterior. You've got all those to figure it out. So it shouldn't take you too long to fill this in and see what you get. All right. So if you have questions, email me or come to the Google Meet and we will discuss it. For Group B, you're watching this video on Friday, which means that when we come back to school next week, we'll say I'll give you two choices. You can either go ahead and have this done, or I'm going to put this on the board first thing on, that would be next Tuesday, and we'll do it in class. So you can either go ahead and do it at home and have it ready, or we'll do it in class and go over that for Group B. So, all right. If you have questions, let me know.